Hi, I'm Professor Beck Strah.
And I'm producer Brit, and you're listening to Prison Breakdown.
2, 3, break!
Hate to spoil his fun, but we're gonna bust out of here.
2, 3, break!
I'm locked in here with you. You're locked in here with me.
2, 3, break!
I can honestly say I'm a changed man. No danger to society here. God's honest truth.
2, 3, break!
I'm not leaving this cell. I'll get out my way. The right way.
2, 3, break!
Ahoy, dudes! Welcome back to another episode of Prison Breakdown. I am Professor Beck Strah, former corrections officer, former instructor of corrections incarcerated inmates,
Former
and
insurance, executive assistant.
yeah, I don't even remember my title from that job. I've had office services specialist, I've had jobs in college where I just the name means absolutely nothing. I love that kind of job.
Yeah. Because that's kind of a do nothing job, or like a do little tasks job where, you got a lot of downtime and you're usually working for, some place with a lot of money, which is all kind of nice.
I once worked for an accounting firm where, which will not be named, but I liked my job there, except often they would give me little tasks like, hey, we ordered all these Nalgene bottles with the company logo on it, and this type of Nalgene bottle, this just got labeled as cancerous. So can you take a razor and scrub all of the labels off of these bottles and then throw them in a dumpster? Or hey, can you refill the soda vending machine at work? Or can you answer the phone for half an hour? It was the oddest job of all odd jobs. I love that kind of job.
I bet outside of tax season, you got a lot of homework done at that job.
Honestly, I don't quite recall. But I only worked 20 hours a week there, and I remember they like to party. Accountants like to party. That's especially after tax season. That's really the drop.
Yeah. Heck yeah.
And how are you, producer Brit?
Well, I am great. The weather over here, we're
frightful.
Yeah, we're missing Professor Eric Bronson, still on medical leave there. So
get well soon, Bronson.
Get well soon. We want you to get well.
We miss you.
But I feel obligated to fill in a way for him. So I'm going to talk about the weather over here. It's pretty nice. The clouds are come back, and the rain came back. We had a big thunderstorm the other day, which was kind of crazy because we don't really have thunderstorms here in Seattle area. Yeah. So that's how the weather's been. You're welcome for that.
If you were listening to this and this was the weather, I don't know, 2 weeks ago, or we're recording some of these in advance, so even say a month ago, would you give a shit about the weather? People fast forward through this part. This is the worst part of the podcast. I don't think we're a good podcast particularly. I think we're a great podcast, but the weather is the worst. I
don't know about you. I think only psychopaths fast back and forth through podcasts. And
that's me.
Also, only psychopaths listen to them on 1.5 speed.
That's me constantly.
You were absolutely unhinged, my friend.
Oh, I'll tell you something. Listen to the Chapo Trap House theme at 1.5. You'll never go back. The regular theme, it's so slow. I hate it. At 1.5, it's incredible. Okay. It gets me pumped every time.
Gets you pumped. Okay, it doesn't really get me pumped. I don't think it's supposed to pump you up, really.
Oh, no. It usually startles me at first, and then it's like a shot of adrenaline. But because it's weirdly loud when it comes in with that sound.
Oh yeah, the what is that, the Yoshi sound, I think, from something.
I don't know, it's sped up. It probably is the Yoshi sound, but where I'm hearing it, it's unintelligible.
Yeah. So I don't know. Do you want to get into some news, fresh off the razor wire?
I want to sit in front of a crackling fire and have somebody read the news to me.
From the razor wire.
Fresh news, hot off the razor wire.
All right, going to, I guess, an update from something we've talked about before on this podcast. Going back to Minneapolis, I'm going to talk about some Derek Chauvin and some George Floyd stuff. So, Derek Chauvin, the former Minneapolis police officer convicted of killing George Floyd, was transferred to a federal prison in Texas almost 9 months after he was stabbed in a different facility, the Federal Bureau of Prisons told the Associated Press on Tuesday. Chauvin, who is 47, is now housed at the Federal Correctional Institution in Big Spring, a low-security prison. He was previously held in Arizona at FCI Tucson in August 2022 to simultaneously serve a 21-year federal sentence for violating George Floyd's civil rights and a 22.5-year state sentence for second-degree murder. So he's serving both federal and state time there, which are, I guess you can do consecutively.
Yep.
Yeah.
Indeed. Do you want to explain consecutive sentences?
No.
Or do you want me to?
Can you please?
Yeah. So there's the idea of consecutive and concurrent sentences. Concurrent sentences. So say I have 2 sentences that are 2 years each.
Mm-hmm.
If I were to run them consecutively, they get stacked one on top of the other. So 2 plus 2 equaling 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
It's the time I'd do. Now, if the sentences run concurrently, I'm serving both sentences at the exact same time. So that would mean instead of 4 years, I'm just doing 2 years, even though I have 2 sentences that I'm doing two years on.
Seems like a much better deal.
Yeah, you would think that if given the choice, which you aren't in court, you would want to run them concurrently. It would be such a like a dumb people filter if explained to them what it meant between the two.
Yeah,
nobody's going to say consecutively.
Yeah, and like I guess like what really should be the dividing line though when like sentencing, like for deciding if it's consecutive or concurrent, like. Were the crimes related or are they like separate? Because separate crimes, I think maybe should have separate, punishments. But, just housing people and locking them away in prison forever, I don't think is a solution either.
I agree. I don't know what goes into the logic or even like the calculus behind what gets someone a concurrent sentence versus what gets someone a consecutive sentence. That would be a good question to ask a lawyer or judge if we are ever to have one on the podcast down the line.
Oh.
But it's nothing that I know much about.
Yeah.
Courts are really my blind spot in CJ.
I see. Well, you gotta get in. Maybe we should do a court news segment and just do specifically court stuff. Maybe you should do one. Just get more into the court reporter. I'll make a song for it.
Court reporter.
Yeah, that's pretty good. That could be the end of it. Yeah. Like it's the typing sounds like clickety clackety clickety clackety clickety clackety clickety clackety, and then like a cute little theme over it, and then it ends court reporter.
Yeah. Working in the court reporting system for a year or two in college, Alaska stenotype reporters, you would think I'd know more about it, and I retained very little.
That's because you had like one of those BS jobs like we were talking about where you just did little tasks that didn't really have anything to do with like what they were actually doing. You mostly did homework at that job too, if I recall correctly.
I did a lot of homework. They encouraged me to take naps when there was nothing going on. We had a nice comfy couch.
Rocks.
And there were 2 older ladies I would work with, and they were incredible. Glenda and Lee. And one of them would make copies of the crossword puzzle in the daily newspaper. And the 3 of us would sit around and work on the crossword puzzle together.
I love it.
That's such a good job.
That's a perfect job right there. That's you. Yeah, deserve that. Good for you.
Yes.
So the news continues, though. Another former Minneapolis officer, Thomas Lane, who held down George Floyd's legs as the man struggled to breathe, was released from federal prison in Colorado on Tuesday, the Bureau of Prisons said. Lane, who was 41, was serving a 3-year sentence for aiding and abetting manslaughter. When Lane pleaded guilty, he admitted that he intentionally helped restrain Floyd in a way that he knew created an unreasonable risk and caused his death. He admitted that he heard Floyd say he couldn't breathe, knew Floyd fell silent, had no pulse, and appeared to have lost consciousness.
What a dick.
I know. It's like, it's how, how, like, just admitting that, like, how do you not, like, end your own life at that point?
It makes me feel greasy hearing his account.
I know. Oh God.
Like I won't say I want to say at least Chauvin had the decency to completely deny anything, right? Did he plead not guilty?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
George Floyd, who was 46, died in May 2020 after Derek Chauvin, who is white, pinned him to the ground with a knee on his neck as Floyd repeatedly said he couldn't breathe. Lane, who was also white, like Chauvin, held down Floyd's legs. J. Alexander Kung, who is black, knelt on Floyd's back, and Tu Tao, who is Hmong American, kept bystanders from interviewing during the 9.5-minute restraint, much of which was caught on video. Kung and Tao are both set to be released in 2025. Kung is detained at a federal prison in Ohio and Tao at a facility in Kentucky, according to the Bureau of Prison Records. So it's interesting the different prison sentences that they got for their different things they did. Like the guy who held down the legs got less time, it seems, than the person who told people they couldn't ask questions.
I wonder if it was because he pled guilty though too. So
That's
in
true.
pleading guilty,
True.
he's going to
Yeah.
receive the lesser sentence.
Mhm.
But the weird thing is that he's the others might see themselves as like less culpable, and this guy, it's like he sees himself as the antagonist in his own life when we're programmed not to think of ourselves as the antagonists.
Right, because everyone's got like main character syndrome, and
Right.
a lot of people lack empathy, and they can't see outside themselves and see how other people seeing them is the dick. Like what they say, like if everything smells like shit, like check your shoes. Like,
He is the shoes.
exactly. Like, if everyone around you is an asshole, maybe you're the asshole.
Yeah, a lot of dudes covering for each other and everyone being wrong.
Yeah. So Lane was the first of the four officers convicted of crimes related to Floyd's killing to be released from prison. He served time for a federal sentence alongside his state sentence after being convicted of violating Floyd's civil rights. Now, Derek Chauvin is making a long-shot bid to overturn his federal guilty plea, apparently, claiming that new evidence shows that he didn't cause Floyd's death. If he is unsuccessful, he will not be released until 2038.
God damn it. Haven't conservatives been beating that drum for a while of, but the new evidence is going to say this, but then we have all this camera phone evidence that very clearly shows it. What did cause his death, Derek Chauvin, if not you kneeling on his neck? Would he have organically died?
Yeah, he was just going to die right there without like 3 people standing on him.
just on the sidewalk, yes.
Right. It was it's like spontaneous combustion, but you have like spontaneous like 3 men standing on you.
Yeah, this is pathetic. And I would like to see him try and then fail. Is really that would give me some, not happiness, but it would be the most interesting outcome for me.
Yeah. So that's pretty much the whole news there. Talks a little more about his stabbing, but we don't really need to get into that.
The one thing that is curious, he was stabbed 22 times.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Imagine getting stabbed 22 times. It feels like there would be a high chance of hitting a vital organ 22 times. Once, maybe not. Twice.
I
It's
mean,
going up.
I'm guessing maybe the blade was pretty short.
I would guess that too.
Probably
Short.
like stabbed him in the back or something a bunch of times with a short blade, which you don't have a great chance of hitting a vital organ unless you're like repeatedly going for like the soft tissue and like trying to go for like the kidneys and stuff.
Yeah, right. And you're not bleeding out with a short, sharp knife.
Right. So, no, if you have a short knife, you want to go for slashing people. Long knives are for stabbing. You want to, learn your cuts.
So imagine the cred that you would get in prison for being the guy who stabbed Derek Chauvin versus the guy who killed Whitey Bulger. Whitey Bulger being an 89-year-old feeble man.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you said earlier the guy who killed him just got sentenced, right?
Yeah, he did. And he got 4 years for killing Whitey Bulger.
4 more years. 4 more years.
Yeah, not very much for killing a person, even if that person is Whitey Bulger. But like, does that deserve any street cred? You are not killing a man who is still a dangerous criminal. Likely, this man is old.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be like Joe Biden level of dangerousness.
Yeah, right. Like, imagine like beating Joe Biden. Like, even though I want to beat Joe Biden for numerous, indiscretions, I couldn't bring myself to it. All presidents should be beaten, but I don't want to have to be the one to do it.
He's like half dead.
I know. It'd be sad. It'd be just sad to do it. Like, I'd like to fight him if he was a younger man. If he was even like in his early 60s, I think he was a pretty good 60.
Remember in his campaign how he bragged about doing push-ups and there was like a campaign rally where he dropped to the floor and started doing push-ups?
Yeah. And there was that guy who he like challenged to do push-ups against him. He called him fat. Like, listen here, fat. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's actually pretty sick. That was a pretty sick burn.
Listen here, fat. I like fat as much as I like corn pop in terms of cool nicknames.
Yeah, pretty cool.
And RFK also, guy who brags about how many push-ups he can do. It's a trend in like dumb politicians.
Yeah, and a trend in people missing half of their brain for reasons.
Yes.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's the news I got for the week. You got any more news?
No, I do not. Instead, let's move on to the main event, which is a segment of Prison Breakdown we'll call Prison Breakdown.
Prison Break.
How about
Breakdown?
How about a theme? And the theme is just the breakdown, but like you just say prison and then it says breakdown.
I know prison breakdown. Everything is gonna shake down someday.
Just that much
Yeah,
long.
No one remembers that song by Tantric from like 1999 or whatever. Maybe 2000.
I think it'll be a good theme though. And after watching the show this evening, I don't hate the idea of doing a series on this, at least for the first season of Prison Break.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting.
Okay, so let's get into it. Wait,
Yeah.
Were you in agreement?
Maybe, I don't know. We'll talk about it. So this week we watched the pilot episode of a show called Prison Break from 2005.
Now, if we were people who wanted to make money off of this podcast, the name Prison Breakdown should have gone for a Prison Break recap podcast in the first place.
Probably, especially since it came back in like the late 2010s or something, right?
It came back, I want to say, late 2010s or early 2020s for a 5th season that was only 9 episodes as opposed to the usual 22 or 13 episodes. And I watched the first 1 or 2 of the season and then gave up. Now, what's your history with Prison Break?
I have no history with Prison Break. The only thing I really know about it is executively produced by one Brett Ratner, the Rat Man.
God damn it. I was just going to say the Rat Man.
The Rat Man. Director of like the Rush Hour films.
Yes.
But also like an infamous creep of a man.
Noted sexual harassment man.
Notable sex pest, at least, if not probably like just a straight up like sex villain. Like the guy is shady. Like, and I believe he was like accused of some stuff, and I think just moved over to Israel, never to return.
Okay, if you had to have dinner with Brett Ratner, Derek Chauvin, or Thomas Lane, who do you have dinner with and why?
Well, I mean, the only one I could have dinner with is Thomas Lane. Like the other one's in prison and the other one's in Israel. So
yes, this is a hypothetical. Like if you could have lunch with a president, which one would it be?
Like two murderers or a sex pest.
Yes.
I don't like this. I don't like this choice. None of them. I will skip that meal.
I'm into fasting now.
Yeah. Religious fast. But yeah, so we watched the first episode of Prison Break, the pilot. It aired on August 29th, 2025. Back to back with the following episode, Alan. It got
Wait. No. Roll it back. You said 2025.
I'm sorry, 2005. It gained 10.5 million viewers in America. So it's
now
pretty good.
Let me touch on my history with this series. I used to love Prison Break.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't hear the whole theme this time. We only got snippets in the interstitials between the different segments of the show between commercial breaks. But I used to have the theme as a ringer on my cell phone, and it may still be on there. I paid to get it. I liked it that much. I don't think I ever used it, but I liked it.
That's so like corrections officer coded of you, I feel.
I know. Yes. I don't know if I've watched the show since working in corrections, though. This was pre-corrections even. I watched it while it was airing.
No. All right. How do we want to talk about this? We want to just kind of go through by the scenes?
Yes, we do.
All right. So we open on a guy getting a tattoo, and I know a thing or two about getting a tattoo. And but this is back in 2005, before tattoos were like more socially acceptable. And the woman tattoo artist tells him most people take years to get the kind of ink that he got. So he's all tatted up.
Sleeves and months.
Yeah, he got sleeves and months. And it's obviously like he's entirely tatted up. And it's I don't know. It's an okay looking tattoo. I guess for 2005, it probably looked pretty cool. And
it looked so bad.
Yeah,
it looked terrible.
Yeah.
It saves the reveal for the end of the episode, which we'll get to.
Oh no! At the end of the episode, it's real bad. It's the end of the episode is like objectively funny.
It's so funny. Do you want to say what the premise is of his tattoo that is hidden from us at the very beginning?
Oh no, we'll get to that at the end. We'll talk about the episode first. So, yeah. So after he gets the tattoo, he goes home and he lives in like a luxury apartment, and he's got like notes all over the wall, including one that says Lincoln Borough's final appeal denied. And then one that says Governor's daughter wins humanitarian award. The one that says life sentence for mob boss Abruzzi. All presaging things. These are all Chekhov's guns up in here.
Oh, for sure.
We're all going to meet these characters in this episode.
Yes. And so he gathers all these things that he's got in his apartment, all the stuff that's on the windows, and he bunches it up with like a hard drive that he pulls out of his computer. And he's in downtown Chicago, and he throws it toward the Chicago River. But you will notice, if you look closely, he's not that close to the river.
No, it just probably like fell onto the street, and someone's like, "What the fuck? What is this, a hard drive?" They go home and plug it in. They're like, "Man, this guy's a fucking psychopath. I would give it to the police."
It's just straight up. It's just full of pornography.
Yeah,
is what it is. That's why it's
prison-related pornography.
Oh yeah, of course.
So after this, this guy Michael, he holds up a bank and fires some gunshots and points the gun at an employee. Asks how to get the vault open, and she says only the manager can open it, and he's at White Castle.
This was the weirdest plug for White Castle, and Michael was like, "What's White Castle?" And the employee's like, like the restaurant.
And he's like, "I know what it is." And I'm like, "What? Then why'd you ask?"
Yeah, right. Is there another White Castle that you're asking about? Is this code? It was a weird detail that I liked.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't really seem like a plug for White Castle. It just seemed like a detail that somebody put in there just to make it seem more conversational.
Right. Yeah, it was weird TV writing. I was okay with it though.
I was too. Also, I would have no idea where my boss goes to lunch most of the time, no matter what my job is. I just probably don't know where my boss is at lunch.
It's not that I don't know. It's that I specifically do not care.
It's that I don't care at all where they went for lunch.
There's nothing I care less about than what my boss does for lunch.
Hey, boss, how was White Castle today? Yeah. That's not a conversation we have.
Yeah. You pay me, you exploit me for labor for you. I want to know what you eat. What are you doing?
Well, maybe it's that employee who wants to become more like their boss. So she has started eating at White Castle. I want to see the show about her.
Oh, yeah. She's just, I'm going to indigestion my way to the top. So the police arrive and arrest Michael, and he instantly gives up. So it's obviously something's afoot here. He's not really trying to rob the bank for the money. He doesn't need it. So after this, he goes to court. You want to talk about court?
Yeah, he pleads no contest against the advice of his lawyer, a woman named Veronica, who he is apparently known for years. And his nephew is in the gallery watching, and he's sad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, his nephew's named LJ. And he's...
For Lincoln Jr.
Yep. He seems to be on the wrong path, and we'll kind of find out why later.
Yeah, we'll get there. But the court scene, the no contest means I'm not admitting I did it, but I'm not saying I didn't. Essentially, you are taking some responsibility for the crime of which you were charged.
And he was caught dead to rights too, robbing a bank and firing shots at a bank.
Yes.
I feel like his 5-year sentence, eligible for parole in 2.5 years, is actually kind of getting off pretty easy for armed robbery.
It is, but he's also a first-time offender with no background in offending.
Yeah.
And he's... It shows that he's not... He wanted to be caught.
Right.
is the bottom line. He's doing this in broad daylight. He's showing his face.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing about the crime was supposed to go through.
Right.
So he's sentenced to 5 years with parole in half that time, and he gets sent to the Fox River State Penitentiary. It does not mention why he's going to a maximum security facility. That's not even mentioned.
Yeah. And because he did armed robbery.
Well, he did armed robbery, but for a first-time offender, and
have you seen his scary tattoos?
I did see his scary tattoos. I guess that's a good enough reason. Your tattoos are simply too scary. You're going to Max
Pop. Yep.
And so Joliet is the location. And according to my wife, Ellie, who is a Chicago native, it's not even that close to Chicago.
Hmm.
It's a couple hours drive. So I guess it's nice that he's sentenced to somewhere kind of nearby, but it's still pretty far.
Mm-hmm. So Michael goes to the prison and immediately meets Captain Brad Bellick, who is a Brad Bellend, if you will. Absolute jerk, this guy.
He does a great job playing a jerk.
Yeah. And he's got two rules. First one is you've got nothing coming to you. And the second rule is the first rule.
All right, now, when you look at the 10 commandments, do you just see the 10 rules? Because he says the first commandment is you got nothing coming. And Michael's like, what's the second? He goes, the second commandment is the same as number 1.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now, the best part about this scene was not so much Brad Bellick, but it was interesting to see them play out the booking assembly. Now, they made booking look like this assembly line where guys strip down to underwear, go in a box, go in the shower, and it's kind of like that. I've never seen it in an assembly line, but you change out the inmate, get them into prison clothes, and then ask them questions and mugshot, fingerprints, the whole deal.
Yeah. When I've been booked before, it's always been like the arresting officer takes you in, fills out a bunch of paperwork like with you there, and then you're handed off to like a booking officer basically, who does a lot more stuff, including like your fingerprinting and stuff like that. Yeah, it's like a whole process, and I think I don't imagine it would ever be done in an assembly line unless they arrested a bunch of people at like a protest or something like that, like a mass protest, you know?
Yeah, or if they are taking a bunch of people straight from court to a prison, like could be the case here, and like they're all in a prison bus.
Mm-hmm.
So they would all be arriving at the same time, or a bunch of transfers from another prison all on a bus set to arrive at the same time.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, the depiction of prison it shows immediately after this, it's kind of fun. It's these guys posing, leaning on the bars in a tier, passing cigarettes. There's a guy who gets shanked immediately in the middle of the tier. It's honestly not the worst depiction of prison I've seen.
Yeah, and also Michael gains the nickname Fish. So everyone calls him Fish in this episode. Or I don't know if that's just what they call new guys or just that's his nickname. But
that is correct. So new guys are referred to as Fish or New Fish, and older dudes are typically referred to as an old head.
Old head. Okay. I've heard old head in like the hip hop community before.
Yeah, so old head is applied in prisons as well.
Interesting. So Michael goes outside of the yard and asks around for the location of one Lincoln Burrows. When someone asks why he's so interested in him, Michael replies, "That's my brother." That's kind of the first big twist of the show, I guess.
Oh, let me put it out there to you.
Uh-huh.
Who's the hottest dude in the show?
I'm gonna go with Michael, actually.
That's what my wife Ellie said as well. I remember when this was airing, I had a group of female friends who were gymnasts with the university, and they were obsessed with the show, and they would have like pictures of what's the actor's name, Wentworth Miller, on their books or on their cell phones. It was weird, their level of obsession with Prison Break and with him specifically. But yeah. Handsome man.
So Michael meets with his brother and tells him he's going to get him out of there. Lincoln says that it's impossible, and Michael replies, "Not if you design the place, it isn't." So kind of giving some hints there.
It's just dropping little breadcrumbs, just letting us know, hey, we're going to get to a cool reveal at the end.
Mm-hmm.
A couple notes on the prison yard. We see different gangs occupying different areas of the prison yard. This is somewhat correct to real life. They say the guards are the dirtiest gang in this place, like thugs with a badge. That's often a thing that I've heard in prisons and jails. One thing I loved is there is a prison cat.
Love a prison cat. Have you ever been to a jail with like any kind of animal in it besides like the dog programs you were talking about?
No, just dog programs where inmates. I've been to a couple prisons where inmates are able to train dogs, and they're able to give back to the community in that way by training a service dog. I've never seen prison cats, but it is something I'm interested in, and there are some places that I know do it. I think that would be an interesting report for the future.
Yeah.
Also, there's a guy that goes by the name Wholesale in the prison yard. He's the guy you can get stuff from and buy it from him. I've read about this individual in books. I've never met one in person, one of these one-stop shops. But in the book American Prison, there's a guy named Corner Store who's named as such for the same reason. I've always thought that was interesting, that there's a central point of contact to buy everything from.
Yeah. Gotta be one guy who like has figured out the supply chain and figures out how to get stuff in or like be able to accrue supplies somehow.
Indeed. I also want to point out Lincoln Burrows has the nickname Link the Sink.
Oh, yeah.
It's not really explained.
No, it is. Because
I think it's a cool nickname.
The guy's like, he'll come at you with everything but the kitchen or something like that.
That's such a stupid nickname.
I know. I'm like, ugh. I don't understand what that means at all. Like,
just say it's because it rhymes.
It would have been better if it's like, oh, it's because he got really drunk and took a dump in the sink or something like that. That's like what you get a name like Link the Sink for, is doing something dumb like that. You know, not coming at you with everything but the kitchen sink. That doesn't make any sense.
Indeed. You get in a fight with somebody and you like hit their head on the sink, and then you get a cool nickname like Link the Sink.
Yeah, I guess that works too. So after this, it's revealed that Link the Sink is in jail and has been sentenced to death for the murder of the vice president's brother, which I'm like, no one cares about the vice president's brother.
No one cares about the vice president that much.
Yeah, like I don't think you get sentenced to death for killing the vice president. Definitely the president. Probably not the vice president. I think you just like get a life sentence for that. You know,
a sharp scolding.
Yeah, just slap on the wrist. Don't do it next time. Think about what you've done.
Like a dog, like hit him with a rolled up magazine.
Rub your face in it. Rub your face in the death of the vice president's brother. This is what you did. You don't do that. It's bad.
Now, the show at this point also introduces us to a man named Sucre, who is Michael's cellmate, and he is proposing to his girlfriend in a letter. It turns out he's bad at spelling, and Michael suggests the word passion is going to do it for him.
Mm-hmm.
And we see that he said he's got a conjugal visit coming up. Interestingly, this is a totally inaccurate detail, as in the early 2000s, Illinois was not one of the few states that actually offered conjugal visits, and it is still not one of the states.
Let prisoners have consensual sex. Come on.
Yes. So his girlfriend shows up. It turns out she was dropped off by a man named Hector, and Sucre gets very jealous after they have just had relations.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is a blossoming storyline that I'm not going to care about, but it will be something in the future.
Yeah. Let's see. Also, all this time, Veronica Donovan is like having second thoughts about like Michael's trial. And she, that's in my notes here. I think I might have gotten that out of order though.
No, it's fine. We can talk about it, not in order.
Yeah, I mean, it goes back to it a couple times too. So, but yeah, she seems to realize something's fishy since he didn't really fight the trial at all.
Yes, it seems like he wanted to throw the trial
Mm-hmm.
to get thrown in prison. But why, Michael?
Mm-hmm. But why, indeed? So next, Michael is invited to help the warden, who's named Henry Pope and played by the amazing and wonderful Stacy Keach.
Stacy Keach has done few projects that are good, and this is like one of the better projects he's done besides the show Titus.
Yeah, but he's always good in his role.
He's great.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, he's always one of the best things to watch on screen whenever he's in anything, but he's in a lot of bad things.
He and Jeff Fahey have had these careers.
Right. Yeah, definitely similar trajectory there, definitely.
Where they're in just dog shit everything, except they are good in it.
Absolutely. So he's invited by the warden to construct a Taj Mahal model made by toothpicks for his wife. Which
this is such a stupid present.
It is. And he invites him to do this because he finds out that he's a structural engineer. Michael's a structural engineer. That's like what he did on the outside, even though he put on his prison application that he was unemployed.
Oh. And Michael turns down the job. He says, I don't want to help out with that.
Yeah. He instead wants to get a job with Prison Industries, PI.
We'll get back to that on the outside. Let's check in with a little guy named LJ. What's going on with him?
LJ. What did happen with LJ? So LJ, LJ, the nephew. Sorry. I'm like, wait, who's LJ? No, that was a nephew. So him and his friend ride their bikes through a dark alley and meet a man who opens a trunk and gives them a big bag of drugs.
Oh no!
But who's watching? The Poe. The kids try to flee on their bikes, but they're caught up and cornered in an alley. I love in cop media or any media really, where like a cop car like swings around in an alley and then another one comes down the other way of the alley and traps someone. I think that's a great move. That's always fun to watch.
I'd love to watch that. I also love the drug dealer in this scene. I don't know if you remember him. He's a guy with like a leather jacket, but a collar that goes on top of the collar of the leather jacket. He looks like he's a 70s.
Yeah, he looks like that guy from Trailer Park Boys. I forget his name. Cyrus?
No. I've never watched Trailer Park Boys. But he's like a 70s New York City drug dealer stereotype. Yeah. He's like straight out of Central Casting. It's incredible.
So LJ is scolded by his mother. And he had 2 pounds of pot.
That seems like a lot of weed.
That's a lot of weed. I mean, I guess that'd about fit in a backpack. It's a lot of weed, though. LJ needs guidance, and LJ mutters that he certainly won't get it from Daddy Warbucks. So I don't know. LJ's on the bad path. He's his dad's in jail. Now he's, acting out, doing drug deals and stuff. I don't know. This was kind of a B plot I didn't really care about.
Oh, yes, it absolutely is. It's the one interesting point of it to me is it's showing how deviance can be intergenerational, but how he's acting out because his dad is locked up and he's not coping well with it.
Yeah, indeed.
Now back on the yard, we've got a man named Abruzzi, who is the man who runs Prison Industries, and he's got all the juice, all the influence on who gets the jobs. And Michael gives him origami, and this was my favorite line of the episode. Just what I need, a duck. And he's played well by Peter Stormare, notable actor.
Yeah, and this was presaged earlier when it showed the article that said Abruzzi gets life sentence. So this guy's in there for life, but he's still a mob boss and he still has pull, and So Abruzzi realizes that Michael knows of Fibonacci, who he was talking about earlier with like this butcher guy, right? Who we don't really know the association with, and pulls some strings for him.
Yes, Fibonacci, we learn, is the guy who squealed and put a bruisey away. Fibonacci is... I've never heard of anyone named Fibonacci outside of the sequence.
Right.
The Fibonacci sequence.
Right, exactly. Maybe he plays synthesizers. Maybe he has a Fibonacci sequencer.
It's weird. I used to work the psych unit a lot in jail, and in the psych unit, multiple people would come up to me and try to talk to me about the Fibonacci sequence.
Oh, it's nature's perfect spiral, brother.
Yes, it is a series of numbers in which each number is just the sum of the two numbers that precede it. And it made me look it up when I learned of it in jail. I don't think I'd heard of it before that.
Yeah. So next we go to the infirmary, where Michael introduces himself to Dr. Sarah Tancredi, who we saw earlier, like a governor's daughter gets humanitarian award in the notes or whatever on his wall. And he's like, oh, Dr. Tancredi, like the governor. So he kind of already knows who she is. Definitely already knows who she is.
Yes, he's put it all together in advance. He's just he's got the whole puzzle in his brain. He's just kind of putting the pieces together now.
Right. Yeah, and so there's definitely, like, I think a romance element going on here.
There's a sexual chemistry between the two that we latch on to immediately. We also notice that he hangs on to a lot of these origami ducks, and he's like giving one to Brucey earlier. He's tossing one down the drain here, but he's coming into the clinic. He gets to go to the clinic every day because he says he's a diabetic and he can only get his insulin if Sarah Tancredi gives it to him.
Right. Because he's not allowed to have sharps in open population, which makes sense, I think.
Yes.
That's real bad for, like, disease transmission and stuff, right?
Yeah, you don't want that around.
So, they flirt a bunch. It's kind of whatever. You definitely see, like, it's definitely shown a possible romance going on there, but maybe he's just using her. We don't know. He's got this all in his brain.
And as we know, he's the smartest guy here. We're all just kind of pawns in his game. Now, in the next scene, we see a couple of Secret Service agents. They pop up a couple times throughout the episode. They'll become more key players in the series as it goes on. One thing I did note, when Michael and Lincoln first see each other in the chapel, Lincoln is chained up. Nobody would be allowed to walk around like he is with leg irons and being handcuffed in front of him. They don't let you just walk around like that. You have to be escorted everywhere.
Right.
If you fall, that is liability on the prison. And so they're not going to just let you shuffle around by yourself like that.
Yeah.
You would have an escort on your arm at all times, walking you place to place.
Wow. So these two special agents we got, they're talking about a guy named Bishop McMorrow and how he has, like, a lot of influence with the governor, and they, like, went to school together, and he might be able to persuade him to put a stay of execution out for Link the Sink. And so they kind of make some insinuations, and they're like, well, maybe it's time we arranged a visit with the good bishop.
Yeah. And then when they go visit the bishop, they try and talk him into rallying for the death penalty with his buddy, the governor. And Kellerman, who's our main agent, he seems a little upset that McMurrow is not willing to play ball.
So Kellerman, like, doubles down on his plans and accuses the bishop of committing fraud. But the bishop stands on business, and he's like, no, get the fuck out of here.
One thing I also want to point out, Illinois currently does ban the death penalty. They've had a ban on the death penalty since 2011. But at the time this show was released, you said it was 2005, I believe.
Correct.
Death penalty was still in effect. So
interesting.
We're good there.
Okay. Well,
for our listener, we don't have the death penalty in every state. The death penalty is in some places throughout the country, but it's in roughly half of the states.
Yeah, mostly the more conservative states. And some places it exists, but like only in like law, not in practice. Like I think there's a few states who have had it on the books for years, but haven't killed anyone in quite a while.
Yeah. I think California, Oregon might be one of them.
Sounds about right.
Washington still has the death penalty?
Washington did, but I don't know if it still does.
It was removed last year.
Interesting. There you go. Yeah. That's wild. For such a blue state, especially.
Indeed.
So at night, the bishop is fast asleep in his bed. And a shadow moves across the wall. Who's there? He asks. And sits up. And a gun with a silencer fires once. Bang. He's dead. Someone killed the bishop.
It's like a game of chess.
Yeah. Poor bishop.
Poor bishop. We didn't really know him. We on the podcast were firmly against the death penalty. So you know what? We back the bishop.
Yeah, we definitely back the bishop. I don't agree with Catholics on everything, but we agree on the death penalty. It's bad.
Yes,
we shouldn't do that.
Is that the standard Catholic position on on the death penalty? It's no death penalty?
Yep, they're anti-death in general. They're anti-abortion and anti-death penalty, which I think is at least consistent.
If nothing else, yes, it is consistent. Now in our next scene, we're back on the yard again. We've got Abruzzi. He sends his boys to beat up Michael because Michael, he knows where Fibonacci is. He's just not saying. And he gets a lock, sock, and 2 smoking barrels. That's what this episode should have been called.
That would have been good. But what are the 2 smoking barrels?
They could have had like two barrels, like 2 of those trash barrels on fire in the yard.
Oh yeah, they definitely allow trash fires in prison.
Okay. Maybe I meant in a yard outside of the prison.
Yeah,
like in a person's yard.
Okay, maybe
in that alley where LJ was, that would be the perfect place for a trash fire.
That would be a perfect place for a trash fire. You're not wrong. It's a good trash alley. We love a trash fire in an alley, especially in like an 80s movie. So good. There
is a quality to like 1970s grimy New York that is one of my favorite things to see in a movie. Like if I see a movie and it is showing 1970s New York, I'm already in. I'm sucked in immediately.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have that anymore. We don't have anything like that. So Michael gets this lock sock beating from these guys, which would hurt like hell. And this is like a padlock put into a sock. It doesn't say that's it, but from our knowledge of prison, we can deduce as such.
Yeah.
So he's getting this beating. The COs go bang, and they shoot the sniper rifle at the ground, and the inmates hit the floor. Michael is going to be sentenced to the hole for 90 days for getting the shit kicked out of him.
Mm-hmm.
But he talks his way out of it. He's a charming dude. Yeah. And he said, you know what, Warden, I will help you fix your stupid, goofy Taj Mahal made out of toothpicks. Mm-hmm. Can you imagine getting this? This is my present to you for our, 30 years of marriage or whatever his anniversary is.
Right.
What a terrible present.
I know, but she was like, she loves the Taj Mahal. She's taken by its beauty. I'm like, yeah, maybe that's like something she just said once while she was watching the Discovery Channel with you, and you like took it way too fucking seriously, guy.
Yeah, maybe instead you get her a trip to India with you, and you two can go visit the Taj Mahal.
You're literally making her something out of prison labor. Like that's not a good present. Like,
yeah, exactly. But he should not tell her that because that makes it less sexy.
Right. Yeah, like, oh, this is for you, honey, and you know who made it. a felon.
Now, in our next scene, we get what could have been like a scared straight scene with our boy LJ.
Yeah.
Who like I don't care about LJ, but like sure, let's go on with him. The kid's mom and LJ show up to visit Lincoln, and Lincoln's supposed to give the kid a fatherly lecture. But what happens?
Basically, he tells Lincoln off. It's pretty brutal, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, Lincoln's like, "Hey, I'm gonna die soon, kid," and the kid's like, "Yeah, you're already dead to me."
Yeah, which was a brutal line, man. That was ouch.
Yeah, that was ouch. That was unkind, kid. But you know, it made me maybe I'm a little more interested in this kid than I thought. I still don't care, but to see a kid tell his dad off like that, you know what? All right.
Yeah.
One other thing I thought was interesting. Michael is in the clinic in our next scene, and we're told, oh, he might not really be diabetic. He's instead showing signs of hypoglycemia based on his blood sugar count, I believe it was.
Right. Which is what happens if you take insulin and you're not diabetic.
Yeah, I've never had insulin before because I'm not diabetic. Have you?
No, because I'm not diabetic.
Well, I don't think Michael is either, but he's still doing it.
Yeah, well, he's got a plan here, obviously. It's all part of his master plan. But yeah, so, but he says, yep, I've been diabetic since I was born, and the doctor just buys it. So continues to give him.
Of course. And he knows he's going to get a blood test. So he goes, when he's back out on the prison yard, he finds this guy. What was his name? Wholesale was the guy's name. And he flashes a little cash to get an insulin blocker. How did he get cash inside the prison? That's locked up pretty tight.
In his butt pocket, definitely.
Oh, yeah. You think he put a whole wallet up his butt?
Definitely. The whole leather wallet with all the business cards and credit cards and everything. And got it in there, like, you can't use those in here. And it's like, ow.
Yeah, what worthless stuff do we carry around in our wallet? Like the business cards that you're given by everybody, like a painter gives you their business card and you go, oh, okay, cool. And just put that in there. He forgot to take everything useless out of his wallet.
Right. Yeah, he had like that George from Seinfeld wallet.
Yes, the George from Seinfeld wallet. Listeners, look it up. It's a funny wallet.
So is it next we go back to Veronica Donovan?
We're doing it somewhat out of order, but yeah, I think we do.
Yeah.
So what's going on with Veronica Donovan? Give us the scoop.
So her assistant comes in and tells her about the bishop's murder. And it dawns on Veronica that the one person who could have helped save Lincoln's life had been murdered. And so she's like, wait, Michael was right. And she removes a copy of Lincoln's trial deposition from a file cabinet. So she's refocusing on Lincoln's case now.
I think you mean Link the Sink.
Link the Sink. I do mean Link the Sink.
Official name on the podcast.
Yes.
I think you and we're like the Michael Schofield and Lincoln Burrows of the podcast.
Yeah. Are we? Let's say we are. Sure. Yeah, I'm definitely, well, that require both of us to be criminals. And only one of us.
You have tattoos, which automatically makes you a Michael, though, too.
Oh, God, I should get the prison break tattoo. It's so funny. It's so funny.
I want to talk about that,
but we'll get into it in a second because we're almost there.
Michael, he gets a job. Abruzzi comes out of nowhere. Turns out he's got a job now. He's a painter, and I think he's a painter, and he also works on the Taj Mahal toothpick model.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, yeah. So he's painting alongside Lincoln in Prison Industries, which is run by Abruzzi, and I'm sure that's a developing story. Now, they get done painting. They're in the locker room. What happens next?
During PI, Lincoln asks Michael if he has ever seen the blueprints to the prison. Michael smiles and briefs Lincoln about the prison retrofitting job in '99. And he says, I got them on me. And he takes off his shirt and reveals his tattoos. And his brother's like, what? I don't get it, which is like a normal reaction.
That's the audience's reaction.
Yeah. And then it's like, no, look closer. And it's apparently like a magic eye or something. And you can suddenly like the prison blueprints suddenly like pop out of his tattoos. Like
it zooms in.
It's so funny.
Yeah.
It is. I laughed out loud at that. I was like, "What? No, what are they doing?"
Wait, you didn't know this was part of the premise of the show?
Oh, I did, but like the way they presented it was so funny, and because like I'd never seen the show before, so I didn't know it was like a tattoo hidden within a tattoo. I thought he just got the tattoo straight up on there, and I'd be like, that'd actually be a pretty cool geometric tattoo, like a giant blueprint. I could see that working, but no. Instead, it's like objectively hilarious.
Also, if he just tattooed the prints on him, like nobody would really have any idea what it was.
Right.
Even if I saw somebody shirtless with like a bunch of rooms and dimensions tattooed on him, I'm not going to say, "Oh, that's the prison that we're in." No, nobody's going to know that.
Right. Also, I don't totally understand how this is going to help them when, I don't know, he could just like smuggle in the blueprints. I don't know, like there's so many other ways. I feel like have someone send it in a letter or something. It's not that hard.
What are you going to do when it comes time to like the tattoo that's like on your lower back or your butt? How do you see that?
Yeah, and is that like technically a tramp stamp? Did he get a tramp stamp for his brother?
I'm gonna say he did. Tramp stamps for brother.
Yeah, tramp stamp for your brother. That's pretty cool.
Yes.
Yeah, but that's the end of the episode. The big reveal, end of the episode.
Yeah, it's an absolutely ridiculous premise, but I will say I enjoyed my watch. It's a solid 3 out of 5 soups for me.
Yeah, I'm gonna be a little less generous. I mean, it was fine. There were some good character actor moments in there here and there. Ultimately, I'm not totally interested in the show, but maybe that's because it just has like a kind of a dated feel to it, being from 2005. At the same time, I recently watched Lost again, and that I think that still holds up, and that's a little older than this. But
about that era,
yeah. But it was all right. I'm gonna go 2.5 soups, I guess.
The pilot gives us some intrigue. It foreshadows some more intrigue ahead, and I remember having a fun time with it when it was airing years ago. Being that I'm coming at it now, having much more prison knowledge, I'm more eager to watch it because I think it will be mostly silly, but harmless silly.
Fair. Okay. Well then. Neat. Yeah, we got anything more to say on that?
No. That's a Prison Breakdown, the segment, episode 1, the pilot.
Wonderful.
And check back in with us. We'll probably do this kind of episode again when Bronson's absent, because why not? It's fun. It's fun to discuss television, especially if it's goofy like this.
Yeah. Fair. Well,
shall we move on to a little thing called A Movie a Minute?
I think we shall.
Movie minute. Movie minute. 60 seconds with producer Brit to talk about movies.
So, this movie minute, last time Judge Beck over here sentenced me to watch Alien Romulus from 2024, directed by Fede Alvarez, who is the guy who did, I want to say, the newest Evil Dead and something else.
Second newest Evil Dead.
The second
and it
Evil
rips.
Dead. Oh yeah, and also Don't Breathe, which I also heard was supposed to be pretty good.
Was that the one with the blind guy?
I'm not 100% sure.
I'm not 100% sure either. I feel like I've seen it and have no idea if I've seen it.
So this movie was pretty good. I enjoyed it altogether. It felt like a strange amalgamation of like all the other previous films put together. Like definitely had like the action of Aliens, the suspense of Alien, kind of like a weird dystopian prison setting, like an Alien Cubed. A little bit of like the birth rebirth plot of Alien Resurrection, and also some like kind of prequelish feeling like the other two Ridley Scott ones, Prometheus and Alien Covenant. And altogether, a pretty solid Alien film. I don't love that they keep on digging up like dead IP in order to just like milk it for everything it's worth. But I feel like this is a pretty competent and worthy addition to the Alien franchise. I quite liked it. I'm gonna go for let's say 4 out of 5 soups.
Wow, that's high praise. I am looking forward to seeing this guy. And it's one of those franchises I think about with like Terminator and Predator, and I'll even throw Ghostbusters in here, where it's like, why do we keep digging this back up? We have such diminishing returns, but I'm glad that they can do something with Alien, because Alien is badass. Maybe we shouldn't have tied it so much to Ripley. And then when it was too untethered from Ripley with like Alien versus Predator, why we don't need that.
Right.
So giving it a fresh start might be something fun.
Right, totally. But yeah, it went a lot more into the like the lore of the Weyland-Yutani Corporation, which I find like super fascinating, and the world building behind it was like really solid. Like the first, I don't know, like third of the film is like brilliant world building. It goes off the rails a little bit here and there, especially near the end. And I think it could have been like tightened up by a good like 20 minutes, but overall it's pretty fun.
I will be seeing it in theaters forthwith.
Heck yeah. And that's movie minute for the week. What do you have to sentence me to next time?
I am going to sentence you to a good time I had in the theater recently with a little film, and I mean it's a little film called Ghostlight. It's small in scope, but it is about coping, which we'll talk more about next time, and how it ties into criminology and criminological theory and even prisons. I want to see what you think.
Cool. Looking forward to it. Well,
That's a plan, Jackie Chan.
Indeed.
Speaking of which, let me stop myself. I just watched Police Story for the first time.
Yeah.
The 1984 Jackie Chan directed, Jackie Chan starring film. Holy shit. It is a marvel.
Is it? Okay.
It is. It's goofy. It's fun. And it has some of the most insane fight scenes I've ever watched.
Oh yeah. Early Jackie Chan is wonderful stuff.
Jackie Chan in his prime, I want to go back and devour everything I can find now, because that movie is sick.
Love to see it. Yeah. Oh, by the way, we should give a shout out to our sponsor.
Yes, our sponsor, who we love as much as we love Jackie Chan.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
The Roger Williams University School of Justice Studies, which includes what programs, Brit?
Leadership. That's all I got.
Leadership, public administration, criminal justice, legal studies, cybersecurity, a minor in military studies, and I'm forgetting one. We have a master's in criminal justice program that's pretty cool too. I'd recommend that one.
Yeah, that is pretty cool. And leadership. Well,
leadership. Yes, and leadership. Thank you for your endorsement, Roger Williams University School of Justice Studies. We love you.
We certainly do. Thank you, Roger Williams School of Justice Studies. And with that, I think that's about the whole podcast.
I think it's about time for me to hang my hat.
Indeed.
I also want to tell you, if you liked this podcast, say you were a listener, what would you do to support the podcast?
I would like, rate, and subscribe and review wherever I get podcasts. Give a glowing review. Say, hey, I love the silky smooth voices of that Professor Beck Strah and that producer Brit and maybe that Professor Eric Bronson, who we hope gets well soon.
Get well soon, Eric.
Get well soon.
And with that, I'm going to say it's time for bed. Let's turn out the lights.
It's time for
lights out.
Lights out.
Lights out.
Lights out.
Lights out.
Lights out.